Hey friends, welcome to Anna's Pastry Kitchen. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today I'm going to make shortbread, but not your ordinary shortbread. This recipe is awesome. It has rosemary, grated grapefruit zest, and then sea salt. So this recipe takes shortbread up a notch. So I'm gonna start by chopping up my rosemary that I just picked from my kitchen garden. Then I'm gonna use my Pampered Chef fine zester here to do the grapefruit zest, and I'll show you how that works. I just think this is such a nice tool to have, just a microplaner, and it grates that grapefruit zest, and it smells fabulous. So I highly recommend this tool. It's a great tool. I have friends that sell Pampered Chef. I don't sell it, but I love it. So if you have a friend that sells Pampered Chef, you might want to check out this microplaner. It just makes it so easy. And look at how easy that was and how fine it is. It's fabulous. Okay, so this recipe calls for a combination of all-purpose flour. And by the way, I like King Arthur flour, and I use unbleached, which I think is just a tad bit healthier. But it calls for all-purpose flour and also rice flour. So that rice flour adds some interesting texture and probably helps that shortbread have a more crumbly texture, which is classic shortbread. So we want 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and I'm gonna measure that out here, and then I'll add 1/3 of a cup of the rice flour, and I went ahead and got brown rice flour. I think either one would be just fine. All right, go ahead and do that, and then we'll do 1/3 a cup of the brown rice flour. All right, and then we're gonna have 1/2 teaspoon of, I'm actually gonna use kosher salt. I think I said sea salt, but I'm gonna use kosher salt. So there's my 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Maybe a little more to taste if you need it. All right, so I'm mixing this together, by the way, in a favorite bowl from childhood. I have such fond memories of baking with my mom when I was little. I don't know if this is the exact bowl, but it's so much like the bowl that we used to make chocolate chip cookie dough in with a big wooden spoon. So love this bowl, love bringing it out when I can. So I'll go ahead and mix that together. I'm gonna mix the butter and sugar in my KitchenAid mixer, and then we'll blend it all together with the grapefruit zest and the chopped rosemary. Delicious, not hard. Okay, so in my KitchenAid mixer, I have the butter, the sugar, and the grapefruit zest, and I let it beat for about 2 to 3 minutes. Now I'm gonna add our flour mixture, which has the chopped rosemary and also the kosher salt. And then we're gonna mix that. I'll start slow because I don't like it when the flour goes poof. All right, we'll start it slow. We'll mix it. It'll be crumbly at first, and then we'll just keep mixing. When I was a kid and my mom and I made shortbread, not this recipe, but a different recipe, we would mix it in a bowl like this by hand. Wooden spoon, mix it by hand. I will say I do love my KitchenAid mixer. It makes everything a little bit easier. All right, so that is looking somewhat crumbly. It's coming together. It smells divine. So next up, I'm gonna pat this into our prepared pan, and I'll show you that next. So don't go anywhere. All right, it looks good. Look at this. So that's, you just have sort of a thick dough here. So let me just show you really quick what I've done with this pan. I have a glass Pyrex. I'm gonna say it's 9 by 9, but I've lined it with 1 sheet of parchment overhanging on 2 sides here. So I'm gonna pat the dough in here. I'm just gonna use my hands to do that. Your hands are one of the best tools in the kitchen. So I'm gonna take our dough that smells divine with the rosemary and the grapefruit. I'm gonna go ahead and plop it in here, and then I'm gonna just spread it around with my hands. And then this recipe actually asks you to chill it for about an hour before you bake it. So I am sure that helps with a perfect texture, perfect shortbread texture. So you can see that I'm just gonna use my hands to press it in. It's a little easier than trying to use a tool. Not a problem. Obviously, my hands are very clean. All right, so I will keep pressing that till it's even. I'll refrigerate the dough for about an hour and then we'll go ahead and bake it. I'll be back. All right, that was quick and easy. Like I said, use my hands, patted it around. Gonna chill it for an hour, then bake it. And the parchment makes it a little easier to pop out of the pan, so that's why we've lined the pan with parchment. Don't need to grease it. This has so much butter in it. So, all right, stay tuned. A little bit more. We're almost done. All right, my house smells amazing. So our shortbread just came out of the oven. It was in there at 375 for 35 minutes, not a minute longer. I'm going to cut it warm, but I'm gonna let it continue to cool entirely in the pan. So I've already scored my shortbread with marks so that it's a little easier to see where I'm going. I can make desserts, but I'm not the best at cutting them. I'm just gonna say that. But I'm gonna go ahead and cut these. We'll have a total of 16 shortbread squares. And then I'm gonna let it cool entirely in the pan, and then they should pop out pretty easily because we have that parchment in there. I wish you could smell my house. It just smells amazing. So I'll go ahead and cut these. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been really fun. Hope you're doing well, and I'll see you next time.